Hey folks, welcome back to Game Geeks. I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Today's episode, something a little different. Not talking about one of these fantastic books I have in front of me here. What I want to talk to you about today is where we get our role-playing games, because there's a variety of vendors available to us now that really can help or confuse with how we want to get our books. I'm a little bit old-fashioned. I started this hobby a long time ago, so I like a good, hard or soft-cover book in my hands to read. That being said, the internet, the electronic age, and the PDF generation has really changed a lot of how gaming works. There are some really good PDF products out there. A lot of them are available through drivethrurpg.com, RPG Now. A lot of companies sell their own PDFs, like Triple Ace Games sell their own PDFs of their products, as well as going through some of these other vendors. But that brings the question, how do you get to hardback books? Well, a lot of us who are older, a lot of us who have families, a lot of us who sort of struggle with money, and you don't always have as much money to buy all the game books you want as you'd like to when you get to be my age, then you have to kind of cut some corners. And one of the quickest corners people can cut is gaming. I actually get a lot of mine through Amazon.com. This is not a sales ad for Amazon. The reason I tend to go through Amazon is, one, convenience, and two, you can get them at a decent discount sometimes. But that being said, one of the best things you can do to support your hobby is go through your friendly local game store, your FLGS. Now, I've been to a lot of FLGSs because I've lived in various places across the country. Some of them have not been very I've had some that were not very friendly at all. I've had some that weren't very local, and I've had some that stock a couple role-playing games in addition to all the Pokemon cards. Right. So, that being said, what I wanted to do was, one, encourage you, when possible, to support your friendly local game store. If you don't have one in your town, or if you don't like what they carry, or that you want something that store doesn't happen to carry, then look for other vendors. I would almost recommend your next level is like your Borders, your Books A Million, your Barnes & Nobles, just because those are also brick and mortar stores. You can get more books coming into your town that way. In terms of friendly local game stores, like I said, I've been to a lot, and I want to talk about three of my absolute favorite ones I've ever been at. Now, there have been a lot that I'm not going to mention that were good. There's nothing wrong with the ones I'm not mentioning, and the really bad ones I'm not going to mention for fear of libel. But basically, these are three that I've been to that have just really wowed me in terms of what they have, their stock, the knowledge and friendliness of their staff, all those things combined. So to start with, and in no particular order, this is just going to be off the top of my head, the first one I want to talk about is Games Plus, which is in Mount Prospect, Illinois, which is a northern suburb of Chicago. This is one of my most recent discoveries, and let me tell you folks, this store had one of the most extensive backlogs of games, stuff that I had heard of a long time ago and thought, oh, that looks interesting, but never got. I was able to thumb through it. I was able to look at, I spent literally 2.5 hours there. I have a very patient wife who went shopping at Target, I spent so much time there going through so much of their stock, going to look at everything they had. I had to whittle down my pile into the smaller stuff that I really, really wanted to get. On top of that, it had one of the most intelligent, well-versed, and friendly staffs I've ever seen. Extensive room for playing. That is, while I was there was a first edition D&D game going on in one of the back rooms, which was just wow. And they were really friendly. They let me watch for a little bit just to bring back some memories. So, Games Plus, Mount Prospect, Illinois, fantastic, fantastic game store. Another one also in sort of this Midwest region where I live is the Source Comics and Games in Falcon Heights, Minnesota. Folks, this one's a lot more local to me. It's about 2.5 hours away from where I live. And less than that, really, hour and a half, maybe two. It was a really great store, again, with an extensive background, large playing areas. This one also had a lot of books, DVDs, comics. It was a more broad selection, but it also had a very friendly, knowledgeable, and intelligent staff that's been really pleasant to work with. And every time I've said, do you have a very obscure thing, X? And they'll come back with, well, no, but we can order it for you. We can probably get it here for you in a couple days. So, again, really good to work with. The third place I want to mention is Sci-Fi City in Orlando, Florida, something I discovered on our honeymoon. Yes, my sainted wife took me to a comic and game store on my honeymoon. I'm a very lucky man. Honey, talking to you there. This again, huge selection, very pleasant, knowledgeable staff, probably one of the biggest stores I've ever been in my life. It was intimidating how large this place is. Easily the size of a medium-sized Kmart, just filled with all kinds of stuff. Well worth looking at. So in northern Chicago, in Minneapolis, St. Paul, or down in Orlando, Florida, there are all kinds of friendly local game stores all over the country. Support your friendly local game store because that's kind of how we get the word out about a lot of these role-playing games. Next week, back to a regular review of a book. For Game Geeks, I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Good day and good gaming.